Welcome everybody to the much anticipated 2018 post-draft odds. And without further ado, straight off the 10-day DL, and probably maybe we have to put him on a 60 DL, is my charismatic co-host Sal Kukula. Welcome, Sal.
Well,
my man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's great to be here. Sorry for the left.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I got to be completely honest. I really didn't want to do this video, but after talking to all the networks, they kind of twisted my arm.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
yep.
I'm glad we're here and ready to do another post-draft video.
And they give you that large anal bead that I think Darrow would like to play with right now. But I'm excited to do the video. It's a little different this year because it's a couple of weeks into the season, Sal.
It is.
And it might, change. I waited for Sal. But I did all of the info that I'm giving you. The odds are before, they were like 2 or 3. I finished with the evaluations 2 or 3 days after the season, but it's unique this time because we have 2 weeks of info.
Well, it's only fitting because this happens to be a weird and odd kind of year.
Yes.
We drafted after the season started, so it's kind of fitting that the post-draft video is a little late as it is.
I don't like drafting after the season starts.
I think it's a horrible move. We should never do it again.
Well, we need to have people understand a little bit more and be a little more flexible. And unfortunately, baseball just conflicts with a lot of interference. And as long as we could settle on the Saturday before the season starts, if MLB continues to do this Thursday, Wednesday start, and that's what I'm going to settle on, that Saturday. But, holidays change, even Easter and all that stuff, but I hated it.
Even if it's a Sunday, but, the problem is, and it happens to be, it happened to be a weird year where Easter and Passover and everything was roughly around the same time, and Palm Sunday, and so it was kind of difficult this year. But I don't foresee that.
But there were players that had a good game. They got on the map, and for the weaker owners. And I'm just going to tell you about it. In the post draft, we say names, and you got to deal with it. You know what I mean? And we're not saying anything that's not out there. You could click on the transaction list, you could click on a roster page, you could click on the news, and you're going to see everything that we even say. So, this isn't the time to argue about names. So, just be ready. So anyway, Sal, personally speaking, I thought I've been doing, my very first fantasy draft was 1986. And I thought this was the hardest draft I've ever been in.
I gotta tell you, it was a difficult draft. Coming in, you were nervous about.
Nervous?
No, I want to say you weren't. I don't know how you were.
No, I was nervous about what were people getting into.
You were nervous about it. People were into it, and I gotta tell you,
I misread that.
People were into it because this was a very difficult draft. A lot of fun. You felt the tenseness in the air. Everything about draft day it stacked up to what it should be.
It was the intensity was like you could cut it with a knife.
Yep.
And the only thing I didn't like about the draft was that how could Jared miss the draft? I hope he was really sick, and I don't want to I don't know because he got onto the message board the other day, and then I was like, I don't know if sometimes I just step over the line. I was like, if I was on my deathbed, I would be at the draft.
There's nothing keeping me from the draft.
But you never know, and I was so disappointed because he injects this, people who show up to these drafts and are part of our league, it's what makes it so much fun. Everybody has their personality, their energy, And when he told me he wasn't coming, I was like, ah.
That's the problem with some of these teams. They figure they're going to let their partner out to dry and out to take the heat. And the issue is, there's nothing that would have kept me from that draft.
Well, I hope he was. I know he was sick, but I hope that because I give him a little hard time with the Game of Thrones.
And we're giving him a hard time now.
Yeah, I hope that wasn't the reason.
Games.
You know what I mean?
But
as
much as I don't think that's the reason, you could tell the Reek thing is bothering him.
You think so?
Because he brought it up in the comment.
But that's his own fault.
And it is. You're supposed to let things roll off and let it go.
Yeah.
But I think that's the beauty of the league.
Yeah. Jared plays big time.
Yeah, and you know what? If you can joke, and I've seen you joke with people and give it out, you got to be able to take it.
But in all honesty,
we do hope you're feeling well.
We miss Jared. Everybody missed him.
And actually, one of the funniest part of the drafts were every time a team has no name with the draft, Bean would say a team has no Jared, which made it hilarious. So we did miss you at the draft, Jared.
Yeah, we love you. So good luck, Jared. Anyway, you think others would agree that the draft was tough?
I don't think how they couldn't. I mean, I think there were teams that did well. There were teams that did not as well. But I think as an all-around draft, it was a fun draft. It was a difficult draft, and there's no way to argue. I think everybody felt the intensity. That's why it wasn't as noisy as it usually is.
And it's a great setting. And again, I thanked everybody that day that has so much influence in that day. But you can't argue with everything that goes into it. And then the moment we get to do our, make our picks, it's just, and thanks to Paulie and Michaela and all of that. But anyway, Sal, before we get into everybody's team, I think that everyone was so intense and serious and focused. Mainly when I also pointed out that you have to follow your own team.
Right.
I think that it might have been a mistake because I think what it did to the Tonys and the Darryls and the Joe Beans was like, I better come to this draft more prepared. And that might have hurt other people. I don't know because, I actually thought they all did well. They repeated names, but you know what I mean?
You know what, they all did well, but again,
they didn't come up to
again. It's why is it the same people repeating names constantly?
Yeah, I mean,
and there are mumblings in the league. I won't mention specific teams, but there are mumblings in the league that say that you should get penalized for calling out a name that's not even drafted, and I kind of see their point.
No, but you have a clock.
Because
you make a valid pick before the clock
as
ends.
things are getting, as baseball is changing, and as things change, and fantasy baseball changes, maybe sometimes you do have to look into that as being a foul or a personal flag, and then throw the foul.
I would never do that because we love each other. So anyway,
I still love them, but you got to be fair.
I think that overall, that usually at the end of a draft, when you're home a few hours later, you could maybe look at a team and see who has the great team, the best team. But I thought everybody had weaknesses. I did not see a runaway team initially. Now, this is my initial, evaluation. Now we're a couple of weeks in, so things will change. Because some teams have injuries, some teams don't. But, the worst negative about having the draft into the season is that information that comes out there that puts somebody on the map. Not that people aren't looking at people, but that one thing, because sometimes the news throws people off of players. And then a player has a good game, and then all of a sudden, the player's back on the map. So, that's really it. But the good thing is the injuries, but it hurts with the DL and all the stuff I gotta make, and it's just I just can't stand it. There's nothing positive about really having it.
I think it should never happen again. I mean, this year was a weird year, but I agree with you where it's a bad decision to have the draft after this season.
Sometimes you can't make no choices. But what are you gonna do? I mean, unfortunately, we gotta do this. But could you believe Darryl got the last pick?
Now I gotta tell you, when you went to pick the numbers out of the hat, I was kind of in on.
Yeah, on the joke.
And on the joke.
Yeah. I told a few people leading up to the draft.
So
this is what I was going to do.
While you're going to the hat, I'm telling Walter to watch this. You're going to get a kick out of this. And then you pick out Cream Team, and we all start. You did make the comment of, and you did say it. I didn't mess with this guy.
I didn't mess with it. I told Walter I was going to play a joke.
To joke, jokingly. So I tapped Walter. I said, "You're going to love this. Watch this." And then you pick out Cream Team. I start dying laughing. And Walter starts laughing, and I'm like. Yeah, he said there's 14 other Cream Teams in that bag.
But I didn't do it.
When you went on and did it, I said, are you kidding me?
And I didn't do it because somebody sabotaged me or tried to sabotage me and take my paperwork, and I was all flustered. I left the premise and I went home. I went to look. I mean, you understand, like my most important document was not where it was supposed to be, and it was weird, and all of a sudden it showed up. You know what I mean? And Richie Stark found it, but I know Richie Stark had nothing to do with it. But
this is where I go into your unpreparedness for this season. You're always saying that you're prepared and everything. You're supposed to know where your paperwork is, and that's your fault. And nobody sabotaged you. You misplaced it, and you left it where you shouldn't have. I'm sure it was an accident on your part, but it kind of showed. The whole draft showed exactly what happened before the draft.
You think so?
I do.
Well, we'll get to that. But anyway, there's a lot going on. Like, who needs Wi-Fi? Who needs a plug? I mean, come on, guys. You're adults. Find your table and set yourself up. And you know, you're lucky you have someone like Michaela there, who, by the way, really helps a lot of people out.
Oh,
and then we
Michaela
thank her.
did a great job, and thank you so much.
She's so quiet.
And I hope, like our table did, you know, we threw her a couple bucks,
Yeah, she did
a couple
well.
Scott Ols, because she deserved it and she was good. For anybody that's there, if you didn't throw her a couple Scott Ols,
I actually
you
think
gotta look in
that,
the mirror.
you know, she deserves more than Paulie. In the Scott Old department. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Darryl got the last pick. I wanted to intentionally do it, but we didn't even have to do it.
It was another classic moment. And
What a great thing.
And that's exactly what makes the league so fun.
Walter got a little bad though when I brought up the Palm Sunday.
And you know what? Walter got so mad, and when you
I
brought it
wasn't
up,
really singling him out.
when you brought it up, I knew you weren't talking to him. I at least had that feeling, because I know how you get. And I know how you can get to the core and break people's balls. There was no sense of me thinking that you were pointing him out. And he got so offended, and I had to tell him, I'm like, well, I really don't think that he was talking to you. There was a bunch of other teams involved in that whole moving of the day. But he got really upset. So I'm glad you came up to him and talked about it afterwards. But
it's a tough love moment. I mean, if you think about... again, a lot of it revolves around the holidays, and I mean, what else are we gonna do? Are we gonna do it on Tuesday night? And are you guys gonna take 2 hours vacation from your job? And you know, what I mean, just think of all the other things you would have to do if you didn't do it certain days. I mean, and unfortunately, this is and I wasn't pointing. What I'm trying to tell is that there's a lot of people that make sacrifices in that draft room that you don't even realize.
Yep.
And and we thank everybody that bends their life or bends their most important things, even though it's not more important in that day. But anyway, what about the raise to $1,000? I mean, was I too early to jump with that?
It seemed like a bigger issue in the room than I thought it would have been with a couple teams.
It was a big issue after the draft.
I
had my brother and George talking to me about it, and grilling me about it.
I mean, we're talking about less than $5 a week, guys and girls. $5 a week. Now, if you're the person that has your wife all in your bank account and accounts for every single dollar without mentioning names.
Am I supposed to rewind this video and delete this statement? Because
no, I ain't doing that. So we didn't mention names.
If you have a wife that's going to be a problem with the money, do not call me up and say edit the video. It ain't happening. But go on.
But so I don't think that extra 200 is going to. It shouldn't make a difference. Now, if it does, and I'm not here to count anybody's money. Everybody has their own little situation. So if it is that big of a deal, I think we'll get to the bottom of it anyway. We have a good core of people.
Yeah.
We don't want to lose anybody over
happen.
$200. But that's a decision that you have to make as a commission.
But there's a lot of factors involved. It's not just like a gambling or a greed thing. It's more about the league is in a really good place right now. The group and the just look at the draft, the competition. And if you want to keep this core together year after year, you're not worrying about replacing a player or two, and you want to have it in that environment, in that room, there is a value that it demands. And and I think we're at that point. But again, we won't sacrifice the league for it. But I don't think that it it's an issue going forward. I mean, we're not going to destroy the league over it. But again, there's no perfect team in my opinion. Everybody has adversities eventually. Some have had them already, some haven't. And why don't we just get on to what we're really doing the video about?
Yeah, let's go. Jump right in.
All right? So anyway, we're going to do the video in reverse draft order. And I did the odds, pre-draft, post-draft, in a couple of weeks. So, we'll talk about Darryl, Cream Team, Darryl Williamson, our defending champ. He had the 15th pick. And his pre-draft odds were 300 to 1. 300 to 1 was his pre-draft. Okay, now, I'm not going to go over his whole roster. I might go over everybody's last 10 picks, but I have some concerns with this team, okay, with Cream Team. My concerns is it seems like he's got a lot of age on this team. Chris Davis, Cameron Maben, Victor Martinez, Kendrys Morales, CC Sabathia. Is that something to be concerned about?
I would definitely be concerned about that. But this is going back to how Cream Team normally drafts, and we bring it up in the videos. He likes to stick with the names. I mean, some of those names haven't been relevant for the last 3, 4, 5 years. But he remembers when they were good, and I think his memory of them being good, he still thinks that they may return to that form or that they are better than they really are at this current time.
But he is the champ.
And he is the champ. He is the champ.
I
won't argue with that. He's the champ. But
he had a couple of lucky years, Marlon Gonzalez and Scooter Gennett. They'll never do that again.
a broken clock is right twice a day.
You say that all the time.
Well, that's a good phrase, and he lost.
He came into the draft with all kinds of color charts and stuff like that, and I think the statement of saying you got to follow your own team helped him a little bit, because even though he did repeat a lot of names, he was just in his chair. He never moved. So I think the statement helped. He think he has a weakness in batting average with the Chris Davises and the Jake Lambs and the Matt Davidsons. That concerns me a little bit with this team. And I got to see it again from a few of his players, like the Paul DeJohns and the Chris Taylors and the Tommy Phams.
Well, these are their sophomore year, pretty much, and we'll see if they can do it again.
Felipe Rivera,
or is it Vasquez or whatever it is.
Well,
but we'll talk about
they
that.
They got to show it to me again. What do you think about those guys?
I think they have to show it again. I mean, the DeJohn, we don't know. This is his sophomore year. We'll find out if that's what he had, or if the league catches up to him, or if he is ahead of the league. But it's to me, I have a rule. I stay away from anybody that bats 220, 230, 210. If you bet that, I don't care how many home runs you hit, you're not on my team.
But batting averages have kind of come down a little bit.
But it's still 1/10 of the scoring. So until that changes and that comes down a little bit,
it is what it is. Whatever it is, it was maybe 340 in the 70s. It's now what it is. But there are some strengths on his team that really don't concern me. He played the Chris Sale Kluber game.
Yep.
He drafted David Price. He since traded him. He's got Starling Marte, Corey Nebel, but he gets hit with the DL right away with Corey Nebel. And Darryl has gotten hit with the DL right away. That's just part of doing this video after the season. The CC Sabathia, Kendrys Morales, not that significant. We bring up the age, and here we go right away, Sabathia and Morales. But Nebel is a big one.
He's a big one, and he had Nebel last year, and so you knew he was high on him. Because that's what happens when you win a championship with a guy. You kind of get sentimentally attached to them.
Yeah.
But and we all liked Nebel coming into the year. So I think if he was there, anybody would have took him. But he happened. I think that was a bad bug. He got caught with a little bit of bad luck with that pick.
Mike, to close out on Darryl, I gave him the 300-1 pre-draft because even though he won the title, he's, that sometimes, that doesn't mean what he usually does. I mean, post-draft, what I did post-draft was I gave him 125-1. I bumped him up a little bit, okay? It's going to be tough for him to repeat. I just think that his infield is just too unreliable. It looks very disappointed, his drafted infield, and he has some outfield issues, but he went out and gave Price up to get Ozuna, which was a good move. But I don't know if Ozuna is enough to handle his age issues, and I think he's just got poor home run producers. He's going to need his pitching to carry him, I think, a little
I mean, he has at least 4 guys that I feel like they're all over 40. I mean, I know it's a joke, they're not, but if he has a bunch of guys that I feel, they haven't done nothing in years, and it shocks me.
But is that Darryl done? He made one trade already. Is he done?
No, he's not done. But he came out swinging, and
I love the move that both of the teams made. By the way,
he's a little jolty as far as he's overexcited, and he has a whole year to tell us how he's the champ. So. And he deserves it, so there's no reason why he shouldn't take full advantage of it. I see him overzealous this year, and I don't give him the secondary odds as you would.
Well, I bumped him down to 125 post, but now he stands in, at the time of the video coming into the day, he stands in 5th at 85.5 points. And after that I give him 150-1. So he's nothing real movement. He went from 125 to 150 just based on where he's standing right now, mainly because of the injuries, the age. I just don't like the look of it.
But one thing, please. I mean, you're worried about where somebody is in the standings right now.
Come on. You guys are
one person on your team
yourself.
has a 4 for 4 that can change you 6 slots. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Paulie just offered me Porcello for Posey.
Porcello for Posey?
Yeah.
Paulie.
Come on, Paulie. What's wrong with him? Anyway, Daryl, you are the champ. 150-1 modified odds as of today. Okay, so the next team that had the draft was the Bombers, Joe Bean. Now, Sal, this is a tough pick for him, 14.
He had the 14th pick. I think it's the worst pick in the draft. Aside from this year, I think this year the 14th pick can be to your advantage because you get two really good guys. Like we were saying in the pre-draft video, you should be able to walk out with two studs because, let's face it, there was at least 16 or 17 first-round picks this year.
It was a deep first round, and honestly, I would have kind of loved to have Joe Bean's pick than my 6th pick because I always look to prepare to have a later pick.
I agree with that.
And not that I love this 6th pick, but I wouldn't have mind 9, 10, like stuff like that. Only because, you know, I felt like I wanted to come back quicker. But, you know, Joe Bean, you know, he opened up his draft in the first round with Aaron Judge, who you know, he was right up there. But my concerns with Joe Bean is that, you know, early on he had guys in his team like Ellsbury, Trumbo, Albert Pujols.
It's the later pick, and like, that he's the same guy that remembers
he hasn't
these guys.
even dropped Ellsbury yet.
Yeah.
Like, why would you still keep or have him on your team?
You know, and it's funny because he's a Yankee fan and he should be on the pulse of that team, but he has no idea what's going on with the Yankees. Kind of like giving me the idea that he has no idea what's going on with his team.
And we gave him 75-1 odds. Pre-draft we gave him 75-1 odds.
You gave him.
I gave him.
I don't do the odds.
I do the odds.
Pre and post, I don't do the odds. I agree. I disagree. I think at minimum he should have got 75-1 odds at best. So I don't think he deserved that, but we'll see where he goes from now.
You know, and he had Trumbo activated the first week. So right away I'm seeing this poor management. And then we talk about like guys like Blake Parker, Dominic Leone, and Dylan Betances. So you start saying Trumbo, Ellsbury, Leone, Betances, you know, Parker. You know what I mean? And then we see, you know, what it was.
I mean, he's a mess. His pitching, aside from a name or two, is a mess.
And he hasn't even dropped any. He dropped Betances.
He dropped Betances, but you know what? When you should.
He actually dropped Betances.
You shouldn't draft a guy like Betances.
Out of the 5 guys,
he shouldn't. You know, he shouldn't have been drafted. But it's just shocking how you can try to get away with this.
And then the similar guys, the Adam Eaton, the Brett Gardner, the same player, the Derek Dietrich, the Adam Engel. You know what I mean? So, you know, right now I question his management. This is what we talk about, Joe Bean. He's a poor manager.
I mean, Ellsbury, Judge, Gardner. No way 2 of those 3 Yankees are on my team.
Yeah.
If I can help it.
Can Judge do it again? Aaron Judge, his first round pick?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think he can do it again. What I do think
I like him better than Stanton.
You know, I don't know if I like him better.
It's
than
easy
Stanton.
to say right now.
What I will say is he's not better than Stanton, but he has potential to be that power hitter. He's not going to bet back 280, 290 again, and he probably won't smack 45 home runs. I do see him hitting over 30, which is a given, and driving in a lot of runs and scoring a ton of runs because his on-base percentage is just incredible. You know, I love Judge.
Well, I thought you got lucky. Those stats last year, I thought were a little lucky, a little above his norms, batting average.
Well, he was so hot in the first half, he had to cool down. So the batting average, I say he was hitting above his head. In the second, you know, somewhere in between that, I think he maybe is a 270, 260 hitter, but he's going to strike out a lot. He's going to walk a lot.
He stays in the game. It doesn't affect his fielding.
It doesn't get to him at all. He always has the right things to say. He's a baller.
You know, one of the players that I think everybody was targeting coming into the draft, because there's no secrets. All you guys think, I wanted that guy. Well, everybody's looking at him, and he's been disappointing. Is Ian Happ? You know what I mean?
He's one of those guys.
Could he? And Joe Madden plays these games. He rotates a lot of guys. I mean, could Happ end up being not what people really expect? Because he went high. People wanted him. Everybody wanted him.
Well, he's another guy. He actually falls out of the core category that I like to score people in, but he's had we all know that he hit the first pitch for a homer, first pitch of the baseball season this year, and you know people got over high on him, and I was big on him coming into the year.
Yep.
But let's face it, you know he is in a good hitting lineup. He's gonna get his attempts, and he got the job. So I don't think there's any reason that 2 weeks into the season we should jump off a bridge or say he's not living up to potential yet. We don't know if he's there yet.
He plays in Chicago. He has happened to play a lot of like games in cold environments. but he also has a short sample size from last year.
Right.
And sometimes the short sample size, you overreact to it. You know, those are my concerns with Joe Bean. I think the strengths are he's got a lot of infielders with position flexibility. Freddie Freeman, Matt Carpenter, Derek Dietrich, and Ian Happ. And in a 15-team league, don't underestimate the value of being able to move a player.
Oh, it helps. It helps. That's
mean?
just as valuable as anything else.
And I think he's got 6 solid starters. I mean, Garrett Cole, Robbie Ray combo, Marcus Stroman, J.A. Happ, Alex Wood, Steven Matz. So there is some depth and some good pitches there.
Yeah, but as you know, I think Steven Matz is a pussy. You know, I'm a Met fan. I want him to do good, but he has shown me nothing. He doesn't have the gut.
Well, now he
gets.
I mean,
we'll see how that works out. I mean, Liriano's off to a good start, but he's climbing in age. You know, I'm not a big fan of a ton of these guys. So I gotta be honest. Although I did expect, and I do like the Garrett Cole pick. You know, I think he's gonna have a big year. So that's one of the guys that I would definitely draft on my team. But does Robbie Ray have the same kind of year he had last year?
I love Robbie Ray.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Robbie Ray.
Well, we know you loved him.
He's probably going to have a better year than next year.
You know what you gave up for him last year. We hope you loved him. Not to bring up old players, but
I think one of the bigger players in Joey's team is Trevor Story. I think that I don't like him, but you know, he is part of his infield, and if he could bounce back. And I think that already the age with Kinsler, Joey loves Kinsler, he's already on the DL.
I think he had Kinsler like 5 of the last 8 years.
Yeah. So, you know, overall, I think will or can Joey manage his way through a season? Can he manage his way?
This is what's going to separate the big boys. As deep as this draft was and as hard as it was, we all know who has better in-game management, and Joey is not at the top of the list when it comes to this.
Yeah, he lacks in depth. His closers are questionable, and he needs speed. And I'm not sure because I mean Joey still hasn't. I mean, how can he still have Ellsbury in the team? You know, and Joey's probably already in love with Garrett Cole, so you know you're not going to trade for him, right?
Right.
He falls in love with his players. You know, and
well, they're clearly better than anybody else's.
Yeah, like so you if you think you're going to get Garrett Cole, forget it. You know what I mean? But I actually think that Joey does have a little bit of a solid team, minus the closes, but I think that's going to be a thorn in his side. I expect a little bit, I think he might give a top 5 finish here. I like his team. You know, I want to give him 12-1 post-draft odds. It's not that bad of a team. Somewhere between another discount and 3rd place. But before the naysayers disagree with me, remember that this guy consistently finishes 2nd, 3rd, money, 2nd. And you got to, think about that. But
Does he really, or has it been 2 years?
Well, he came in 4th last year, got the discount.
Well, it hasn't been 2 years.
It's like the last 4 years, I think he has 2 seconds, a 3rd, and a 4th.
Maybe 3 years. He's saying 4 years, and he hasn't won anything.
He currently sits 8th at 75 points, and he was 12-1 post-draft. I modified it, 150-1.
That's a little more fair than I think the 12-1 would be.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between your original odds and
based on the 2 weeks. It's almost like the modification is an immediate 2-week
all
update.
those standings today mean nothing.
Yeah. He didn't close out the draft that well, but we won't talk about his closeout. You know what I mean?
All right, who are we on to next?
We're on to the other guys. They had the 13th pick of the draft. This is Tommy D'Amico, Joey D'Amico. And coming into the draft, I gave the other guys 300-1.
You know what? And another guy, sweetheart, he sat right next to us in the draft, on the phone the whole time, and
closer to us than usual.
Yeah, well, he was at my next table, and he's on his phone, and
with his son.
Every 10 seconds, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
I guess he could hear it.
So his son was able to hear, the picks, which was great. He's another guy.
Right away, he traded Osuna for Price. He needed pitching, and right out of the gate. And I like the trade because I don't trust Osuna to repeat.
You think that us bothering him about his lack to move anybody last year and to make moves,
yes,
kind of made him a little more aggressive this year?
We called him timid.
He was very timid, extremely timid.
And the aggressiveness is a good sign, but that doesn't mean it's because you make one aggressive move doesn't erase everything from the past. I mean, was the trade an overreaction?
I think that any trade within the first 2 weeks is an overreaction.
I don't agree with that.
I'm not here.
It might show a lack of
patience.
patience.
I'm just telling you how my feel. you don't even know what your team is, and you're already trading.
About a month.
But I mean, you do know if you have no closers or if you have extra infielders and you're trying to move them, you might have a sense. But I don't think anybody knows exactly what their team is 2 weeks into the season.
Well, I mean, sometimes you look at it, you stare at it, and you overreact to definitely a couple of games. So you got to remember, these guys are playing in cold weather, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, I like his offense is looking sharp.
I don't know.
We'll
You think his offense could handle the Ozuna loss? I mean, he's got Bradley and Piscotty and Dyson since dropped, and Walker and Anderson.
You don't like those guys, but you have to love Didi. You have to love Josh Bell. You have to love Chris Bryant, George Springer. I mean, these are big guys, big studs that should make a big impact.
But he's got 13 guys, and you only need 5 or 6.
The other ones are mediocre. I mean, Neil Walker, who knows how much playing time he's going to get. So that's a tough pick. Yonder Alonso, you never know with him. He was never big on my radar anyway. Jackie Bradley, you gotta love him and his speed, but who knows if he's he's definitely not the top 5 hitters on that team. So
did he need to go out and get Price? I mean, he has Carlos Martinez, he has Kyle Hendricks.
Well, this is where I think
it's
a little bit of a move, and that's why I don't think you should ever make a move 2 weeks into the season. So I do have a little issue with the overreaction and the jumping on a trade, but that's what he decided that he wanted to do, and I give him credit for at least picking up the phone and making a trade. I think it's a little too soon.
Nobody's giving up pitching. He got pitching. Wait, maybe in a month you don't get it. So I like the move, honestly, because I just can't. I want to see Ozuna do it again. And Price, I think, is in for a big year. The Red Sox have a really good team. And I just don't know if this other guy's team could handle the loss of Ozuna, but what kind of loss are we talking about if he doesn't repeat? I mean,
Ozuna's a stud. He's
I don't see much speed on this team. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so those are my main concerns. I think the strength of this team is the pitching staff. It looks very strong. Price, Carlos Martinez,
yep.
Kyle Hendricks, who I thought was underrated, Sean Manaea.
I like Giolito.
Sean Doolittle. So I think he's got strength in pitching. Is Kyle Hendricks legit? I was targeting him. I think he was so underrated. I thought he was the best starter on the Cubs.
He had a great year last year. I really think that he's a good pitcher. I don't believe in him. There's something about him that I never liked. If he has another good year, then it's just somebody that he'll never be on my team.
I was loving. He developed another pitch, and he was good. He's going to get more strikeouts than you think, and I think that the Price, Martinez, Kyle Hendricks trio is right up there with anybody in the league. And I think out of the 3, Carlos Martinez is the worst. That's my prediction. Is Tommy asking Josh Bell and George Springer and Chris Bryant and Didi to do too much here?
It's a lot to ask from him.
I mean, Josh Bell, you would think coming into the year didn't have a lot of protection, but how good are the Pirates playing?
Sometimes you don't need protection if you're that good of a hitter. Having the other guys around you, sometimes that's good because you're not scoring much, and they're going to give you, you'll get your chances to hit and score. So, I just don't know if that crew and that team that he put together offensively is right for the job.
I would have probably, even though I don't believe in Ozuna, I would have probably been a little more patient. This is like a torch type move here. And I would have gave Kyle Hendricks a little more time to show Carlos Martinez that, hey buddy, I'm right here with you on this fantasy baseball pitching staff. And I would have kept Ozuna because I don't think this offense could handle the loss. And that's what I would have been a little bit more patient for. And, with the lack of speed on his team, especially when Dyson is not even on his team anymore, Orlando Arcia is not going to steal that much. So, at the end of the day, they were 300 to 1 to come in. My post-draft odds were 300 to 1, okay? And they sit in 13th place at 67 points, and they're going to be updated to 500 to 1.
Okay? Like I said, the updated standings mean nothing to me. Right now because it's 2 weeks into the season. One good day, you can move up to first place from any position for one good day. But that being said, I can't argue with those odds.
I applaud the aggressive change and the attitude change, But, he didn't close out the draft well. His last 10 picks were like, it's Monty Grendel.
So where is his son that he's always
He's
on
in
the phone?
Boston, I think,
He's
a
in
lot of
Boston,
times.
okay.
But, we see him every 5 years, Tommy didn't, zero shot for the other guys. And, hopefully, maybe patience a little bit more.
Got it.
All right, with the 12th pick, we have Bistro Smokers.
That sounds like it's me and Walter.
Walter Palmer and Sal Cuculo. Now, Bistro had an 8-1 pre-draft odds, contender odds. And Sal, I mean, I do have a couple. Now, you haven't really been hit by injuries yet.
Well, we had Ron Healy get hurt, so I mean it's 2 weeks
just
in.
Now.
Not many people get hit by injuries 2 weeks in, and if you do,
Yeah.
you are. Sometimes you'd rather the injury in the beginning of the year to get them out the way, but you'd rather never get an injury, but they come. So I did somebody get. We did have Ron Healy get injured, but can you say you haven't got hit by an injury bug only 2 weeks into the season?
But you want them to put the guy on a DL. You don't want this he's going to miss 2 or 3 days. Put him on a DL.
Right.
Let me get a free guy up there or something.
Right.
Okay. And the concerns I have with the Bistro Smokers is this outfield utility combo. I see it as a weakness on this team. Mike Matuk, Malik Smith, Domingo Santana, Odubel Herrera, who's actually playing better.
I like Odubel. He
You added Kingery and Andujar now.
We had Kingery. We drafted Kingery. He's a stud as far as we thought that he was going into the season. Our outfield wasn't the strength of our team, and we knew that coming in. That's why we drafted a guy like Brantley.
Is Brantley going to save the day?
No, but he's a game changer as far as if he can be the Brantley of a couple of years ago and stay healthy. He can save the day.
He had one fluke.
That being said, that's one guy because when you go into a draft, and Walter and I did go into this draft, we had a couple targets which we nailed, and then we had one specific thing with our pitching that we wanted to do. We wanted to come out of the pitching and out of this draft with 2 closers that are top tier closers, and then, if possible, a third closer that isn't a top tier but still gets the job done. And we were so happy with how that turned out for us.
It's a tricky category, but with a nine-man pitching staff, it does play games. What do you think? Be realistic. What do you think you're going to get out of, Andujar and Kingery?
I love Kingery. I think he's a stud. You'll see him turn it up. In that lineup, the Phillies are stacked. Let's face it. He's going to have his opportunities. He's just starting. He's the perfect 5-tool player. And as you mentioned earlier, eligibility does play a big part of it. And he plays every single position. He has 4 starts at shortstop already, 3 starts at third base, 2 starts at first base. Give him by the end of the month, he's going to be eligible for every position on the field, which is huge. So, we're big on Kingery.
Well, they bought out his arbitration years and they gave him the contract right away, so you knew he was... This is another thing about having the draft after the season. A week before, he would have went 7 rounds later.
Well, which is why when we drafted him, you said that was too high, and I said, we targeted him coming into the draft, so we wanted to make sure we got him, and once that we found out that, that the news is all out there for every knucklehead to see, we had to jump on him.
Is, Yoan Makata ready? What do can you argue where he will be batting and his speed and stuff like that? He seems to be a factor.
I texted Walter the other day because now that I've been home and I get to watch every game, I don't like the way he looks at the plate right now. He does look a little sloppy. He's swinging at stuff outside of the plate, way off the plate. He's looking at balls right down the middle. So it's something for me to think about. But what Walter and I do always say is you got to give him time to warm up. It has been very cold. Let's face it. I have a little a saying: if you're anything darker than a croissant, you don't hit well in the cold weather.
Yeah, they don't like the cold.
So let's face it and be real. So I'm hoping that the cold is affecting him right now, but we all know that he's a potential stud, and we know that he's going to be a top 5 player in this game eventually. We're hoping that he brings some of that tool this year.
Well, you did draft the 3 closers, and the third one, or the weakest one, is Fernando Rodney, and you better get what you can out of him because he at any moment, he either has great years or he's on the bubble. So you're going to have to try to turn someone around in the trade eventually. I mean, that's the whole purpose of drafting 3
We'll
closers.
see. Well, that's later on in the season, and we'll see how it goes. Because Fernando Rodney's that guy that he's on a 1-year contract. It's not like he's doing a long-term bid. So maybe he can have another great year to get one more contract and see how it goes. But like I said, that's our 3rd closer. We have 2 stud closers as far as we're concerned, and that was huge for us. We didn't love Darvish coming into the year. We would have liked somebody else.
Yeah.
But being where we were, we have our anchor, and we think on the Cubs he can be something. He didn't have a great first outing, but I definitely like his upside as far as that goes. And he's a big strikeout guy. So let's see what happens in Chicago.
His playoffs performance, wasn't that good, but that was with a different team.
And this is what happens when people judge playoff performances.
Yeah.
Those aren't regular season performances.
It's like a whole different environment.
Don't mix the two.
Yeah, don't mix the two. But I mean, other than Darvish, I mean, you're relying on Fulmer. You're relying on Gio. You're relying on Faria and Estrada. I don't know if there's enough support here, Sal.
Well, it's that's fair. I don't mind the Estrada pick. I love Fulmer. I think he's a stud. Gio Gonzalez, I got him targeted for a big year this year. But you failed to mention one of my favorite guys on my team, and that's Lopez. He's a young stud. He has big strikeout potential, so I don't have to tell you.
But we can't talk about that because that's part of the support staff. So, he doesn't have the resume yet to validate.
Well, I think he's a guy that can give you that resume. When we drafted Judge last year, we got him late. He didn't have the resume, and we got laughed at for picking him actually when we did. And now he's a 1st-round pick this year.
I mean, the real strength of this team, I think, is the infield. I mean, Gary Sanchez, Rhys Hoskins, Carlos Correa, Rafael Devers, Yoan Moncada. I did like Healy coming into the draft, and I thought Rosario was a pick. I just don't know if it's a good enough infield to carry them. I think you concentrated on pitching and infield. For Sal and Walter, they didn't really disappoint here. I mean, the pitching's a little questionable. We could say it in hindsight now because the season has started, but I don't think that it's enough to overcome what I call a putrid collection of outfielders in the league. Putrid. And that's putting it nicely, to be honest with you.
Well, that's fair. We'll get our power from somewhere else this year as far as the infield goes. You gotta like the potential of a guy like Mallet Smith. Stealing bases, and he's already off to a decent start, hot hitting. He's batting almost 400 on the year. So that's a guy that we actually targeted and liked. Andujar, let's see what he got.
And Duhar, and I think that sometimes when you want to trade your closer, it's all about timing, and then you don't get that value. And that requires more work. Can it happen? Of course, it can happen. But this team needs work. And I think that the issue with wins is going to be a factor. I mean, can Darvish and Gio carry you in wins? I'm not sure. I think that there is a lot of work needed on this team. It's a solid team, but it needs some work. It doesn't always happen. It usually doesn't happen. So my post-draft odds, are 50-1 for Bistro Smokers. They were 8-1 pre. They're 51 to post. They're sitting in 9th at 73.5, and my updated odds for this team. And I don't want to. Maybe I give the wrong odds. I have mixed feelings, sometimes. But my updated odds are 250-1. I think you have a bad team.
I gotta be honest. When we were doing the post-draft, the pre-draft video, and we were coming in, and you gave me our odds. I hated the fact that you had us so high up.
Okay.
As the season goes on, the lower odds you give us, the more confident I do feel about our team.
Okay.
But
I think other than the infield, you got a lot of work.
That's fair. And look, you have your right. This is what you do, and I appreciate the criticism. We're going to take it. We're going to think about it and see what we have to do as far as Walter and I know what to do. We know what we have to do. We'll listen to people and we'll take your advice. Yeah. But we'll still do what we have to do as far as.
And we're talking about Walter. Just like when I mentioned Palm Sunday, I was talking about it. What you going to do about it? All right, let's go to the 11th team in the draft, or the draft order, who MVP Paul Scavello, who, again, thank you, Paulie, provides the environment and the location. Now, Paulie, we talk about coming into the draft, there's 4, 5, 6 guys, so, he's a Yankee fan, we know who he's going to pick. Paulie opened up the draft with Clayton Kershaw.
And he didn't have the suit on.
He didn't have the suit. He was more comfortable, and I think that was important. But he also made a couple of quick picks at the end, and he made a couple of bad picks. He also didn't make any air drops the first week. You know, not that that's a big deal.
I mean, as far as he's concerned, why would you have to make an air drop if you draft the perfect team? This goes to, again, where Paulie thinks that his drafts up and his teams are always better than everybody else's.
And he just asked for Buster Posey for Rick Porcello. But Paulie goes to the well way too much. You know, the Manuel Margot, the Randall Grichuk, the Carlos Gonzalez.
I mean, Travis Darno.
The Danny Salazar.
Oh my goodness,
the
are you
Starlin
kidding
Castro.
me?
I mean, how many times is he? This is unpreparedness.
Nobody in this league is a bigger Met fan than I am. Maybe equal, not bigger. And Darno wouldn't be
I mean,
on my
even
team.
Adrian Gonzalez. I mean, come on.
Adrian Gonzalez. I mean, that's
And how early did
right
we take
there.
Tim Anderson,
It's just,
who's a monster right now, so we can't argue with it.
you know,
He's getting good performances out of Swanson.
he's got a couple
and Anderson.
injuries already.
Yeah.
You know, he drafts Greg Bird.
Which I like.
I like, but who knows if he'll ever play again? You know, who knows if he'll play this year? You know, it's always something.
Actually, he doesn't have, the only injury he really had, he actually doesn't have any injuries.
But he's always
Margot just got hurt.
And Margot just got hurt. And,
Today or yesterday.
Lorenzo Cain's a little beat up.
Yep.
Travis Darno's on the DL. You know, who's he going to start with? Who's going to?
Yep.
Where's he putting the catcher?
He just got hit with injuries right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, since the week. But he has major holes. Okay? I'm not going to trust Darno and Adrian Gonzalez, you know, Swanson, Grichuk. Offensively, he has major holes.
I think it's a bad job by him.
And what about Schwarber? I mean, like, how are the Cubs going to treat him? I mean, the guy can't even catch the ball.
The guy's going to play. I love Schwarber. He's a hitter. He's a pure hitter. No way he could bat 200 for his career. You know, the guy's going to bat 280. I think he'll get enough opportunities. He has to get off to a strong start. Let's see if that can happen.
He made too many wasted picks, even the Brandon Nemo pick, the David Robinson pick. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And we all know he took Tim Anderson too early, but the stats say no, he didn't. But, you know, that he'll even go early in next year. And what about Rick Porcello and Matt Harvey? What are they going to provide for this team?
You know, Matt Harvey is one of those guys that you always root for, and you kind of want to hope that he has that bounce back year. And like I said before, I'm a big Met fan. I want Harvey to come back and have this year. I don't think he's that guy. I mean, you can see he doesn't have the stuff that he used to have. You know, he's throwing in his low 90s.
It's still cold.
Low to mid 90s. It's still cold. You know, he did get a little bit of pop on it, but is he going to come back to the Matt Harvey form?
They're playing well.
I don't think so. The Mets are
playing
playing well.
It keeps all the distractions away.
In spite of Matt Harvey.
It's still, they're 9-1. Nobody's breaking his balls.
Right, without a doubt.
That
But,
helps
you know,
him.
And you know, you could be 9-1. Let's see what he does. You know, if you're not going to throw more than 4 or 5 innings, 6 innings, then you're not the Harvey that we expect.
And Paulie was 6-1. They're not giving no second choice 6-1.
He did, and I know you're looking at his team and you're feeling so disappointed in you.
Well, we're not done yet here. He does have a sick top 3. I like the Archer, Aaron Nola, Clinton Kershaw trio.
I agree.
mean, that's pretty sick. I wish I had one of those guys. You know, and you know the Alex Colomb and the Reuters Vizcaíno was pretty good. So I like that. Okay, Paulie might have the makings of a championship staff, but that's just the staff. You know, he's gaining more experience, Paulie, year after year. And this is important too. But I still point out that he comes every once in a while. He just reminds you that these picks show evidence of just not being prepared. And you know, he has Manny Machado. Everybody loves him, especially this year. He has Nick Castellanos, you know, who last year came out and had his best year. I think you're going to get more from him. And Lorenzo Cain, who's a little nicked up. Now, Paulie didn't close out the draft that well. You know, Cargo, Salazar, Castro, Darno, Swanson, Nemo, Bird, Adrian Gonzalez, Ivanova, David Robinson. Again, signs of not being prepared.
That's kind of brutal.
You know, it doesn't appear to me that Paulie got a lot of his targets. We talk about the draft being hard. I think he's one of the teams. It affected me too. I didn't get a lot of my targets. And I think Paulie wasn't able to, you know, bounce around here and regain some kind of direction.
Right.
I think that he missed. I think he missed out on Barrios. I think he missed out on Sam. I think he missed out a lot of guys. And it might have been his draft pick. You know, He chose Kershaw. That might have changed his plan as well.
That may have changed.
You know what I mean?
I was
Taking
shocked
a
with
Kershaw
Kershaw
changes
right
your
away.
plan. You know, and then you got to decide. Getting Kershaw was good because, you know, I was thinking about Machado late in the first round. So, you know, I'm not going to argue that. But Paulie has a very bad offense. He's asking for a bunch of these players to step up, and I don't know if they can do it. If Paulie acts swiftly and trades, and he's very difficult to trade with, Porcello for Posey, perfect example, you know, and get a hitter or two, you know, maybe even for Kershaw, then I think, you know, this isn't a bad time to even think about trading Kershaw. I mean, not for nothing. You got Archie, you got Nola, don't dismiss it, because you could get a lot for Kershaw.
Maybe Kershaw for Posey.
Yeah, I don't think he'll do Kershaw for Posey, but I asked him. Anyway, I think the 6-1 second choice put a lot of pressure on him. He didn't wear the suit, but he came into that room, you know, being all masculine and cocky, and I think it bothered him. Unless Paulie gets to work, this is a middle of the road team, 75-1 odds of post draft. And then as we speak right now, he's placed 7th at 82 points. I'm going to bump him up a little bit, 101 odds. You know what I mean? Paulie needs to get to work right away.
Fair enough.
Okay? Right away. All right, Sal, so we keep going. Want to pause it real quick?
Pause.
All right, we just got to pause this real quick and we'll come back to the 10th team, okay? Hit pause, Sal.
All right.
Okay, guys, we're back from break. We just had to go, you know, the bathroom and stuff. Anyway, Sal, let's talk about the 10th team in the draft order, the Beerman Bashes. Now, coming into the draft, I gave them 10-1. You know, we like their style, we like their activity. 10-1 pre-draft odds. My concerns with them were, I think that their draft pick threw them off a little bit. I mean, they took Giancarlo. Okay, I don't think they wanted Giancarlo. I think they might have been targeting maybe a Correa, you know, maybe an infielder, you know, but then you see those, you know, maybe even the Goldschmidt. So I think that's one of the other teams that got thrown off. And then they came back and they took Rizzo. But when they took Rizzo, they didn't apply the whole second base eligibility, you know, because he was sitting at first. And, you know, then right away they get a hit out of the gate with injuries to Rizzo and Odor. And these are tough to recover from. But anyway, you know, what happens to someone like an Eduardo Nunez? You know, if his you know, the super utility guy is a new thing in baseball.
Yeah.
These guys are still playing 5 days a week. Okay, but you know, Boston is a good team. So does he keep playing that much?
You know, I got to tell you, I like Nunez. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. You like the flexibility of a Gonzalez, but you know, you go through his team. You look at the Rizzo's, you know, he's hurt now, but you got to love Rizzo coming into the year. You love a guy like Polanco. You love a guy like Stanton. You can't not like him. You know, I'm big on Max Kepler for being that late of a draft pick that he was. I kind of like his offense. Brian Dozier. I mean, how could you not like him? Mm-hmm. You know, I kind of like his team. I like his offense. He got hit by the injury bug early. But let's see what happens. You know, you got Odor. You know, let's see.
I think that I mean, Franco is having a good start, but I think the pattern, this downward spiral with Odor and Franco is not a good thing. I think it's a negative that he's going to have to deal with, and already he's dealing with Odor. I think that the injury is a blessing in disguise because I think Odor stinks. You know what I mean? And what about someone like a Lewis Brinson who he's since dropped? You know, so. You know, the everyday role with Brinson, you know, he's worth a draft pick, but it's an issue. He is an issue, and obviously you let him go.
I'm not a Brinson guy, you know. I don't think the Marlins staff is stacked as far as hitting goes. They have a bunch of good young players, but sometimes when you get a lot of those good young players and they're all together and they don't have no real leadership on that team, it kind of hurts them a little bit. So I don't think that Brinson is going to come out and be one of his top, you know, better picks of the year.
Well, he let him go, and what about this pitching staff? I mean, other than Trevor
I think he still has Brinson.
No, he dropped him, I think.
Yeah.
I got to look. No, he didn't drop him yet. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He took him out of the lineup. My bad. Anyway, what about this pitching staff? I mean, other than Trevor Bauer, I mean, come on. Do you see anything here?
No, I do like the Familia and Chapman. He went with the New York closers. Can't blame him. 2 top of the line closers. You know, the rest of the squad, Bauer, I think he got way too early.
I loved Bauer coming into the year, but I still need to see him improve on his career ratio and ERA. I mean, everybody loves the wins and they love the strikeouts, but when push comes to shove, what about the other category?
I agree. You know,
And you talk about Familiar and Chapman, and great. I mean, obviously this might be it out Familiar, but what about Danny Duffy? I mean, Danny Duffy had that 1 year, and that's it. You'll never see it again. He plays on one of the worst teams.
He won't be that good again, but I do like a guy like Clevenger. I do like a guy like Arena. You know, see what happens with these.
But then you have to worry about Clevenger if a Salazar gets healthy, which I don't expect him to do, and who loses that spot? Clevenger or Tomlin? And that's an issue right here. That's going to be some. You know, Cole Hamels, he got him late, but that team is not that good. Ty Block, forget about him. Luis Castillo is one of the most overrated pitchers coming into the draft.
You know, I liked him a couple years ago, and it's just he never pans out. So I'm not a big Castillo fan.
I mean, and then J.C. Ramirez, he loves this guy he's got Tommy John surgery. And what about Stan? I mean, was Stan the right guy to pick here? I mean, let's look at his career. I mean, he doesn't play that many full seasons. He played a full season last year. Did you see the year he had last year? I mean, can he repeat that? I mean, is he going to get hurt? I see Stan getting hurt again.
Well, if anybody can repeat it, it's Stanton. I mean, let's face it, he has clear power. He's in the Yankee lineup. He's going to knock the shit out of the ball.
But what if the Yankees don't perform this year?
Well, then a lot of pressure is on him, and let's see if that pressure can get to his head, because in Miami, you know, that pressure's not there. But what I will say is, the thing that always got me nervous and why I've always stayed away from Stanton and why he'll never be on any one of my teams is that he reminds me of a Tulowitzki type, where he would get hurt. You know, no matter what, he was always a top guy in the league. He could be the best guy in the league. But then a month in, you're worried about what the fuck are you going to do with this guy because he's hurt for a month.
Some of his injuries are freak. I mean, he got hit in the face. You can't blame that on him. The oblique thing is his fault. He constantly gets that one. But I wouldn't have gone with Stanton with the 10th pick. I would have stood away from him, you know, as best as I can.
You know, I was shocked when we got Correa. I thought he would have ended up on Berman Basher.
Yeah, like Correa was one of the guys I was like, this is the guy you got to go for. And I think he wanted Correa. I think Chris wanted Correa. I think Robbie talked him into Stanton. And this is part of it. I mean, who has the final say? So, but you're right, Sal. This is an offensive team that's very well balanced. I mean, you could argue it's the best offensive team in the league. It's got power, it's got average, it's got speed, it's got offensive position flexibility. There is not much to worry about offensively. I mean, you could have a headache about Stan. Was he the right pick or not? But there's very good support here. It's the pitching that I worry about. There's Bauer and nobody else. You know, and I think that other than the two closers, and other than
he's going to have trouble, but you know, everybody wants to overvalue pitching this year. I think you can find a lot of young studs coming up this year, and I think that they're going to be more available. And let's see if he can make the proper moves to align his pitching up to match his offense.
They are the type of team that knows how to manage their way around a fantasy roster, and that's one of their positives. One thing I was going to say is that before these 2 weeks, I loved their post-draft. I thought that their offense was, they went into the draft with an offensive mentality, okay? They key target, and they had some excellent players that fell right into their laps during the draft. And they're the type of team that takes advantage of that, okay? They won't be afraid to make a deal. They won't be afraid to work the waiver wire. They won't be afraid to improve their pitching. Trevor Power does need some support, but the Biermans should have a fun season. I expect them to have a fun season. But 2 weeks later, I couldn't have been more wrong. This team is bad.
This is where I think that you jump the gun.
They were one of my post-draft favorites, 4-1.
2 weeks into the season, you cannot tell me if a team is good.
I'm jumping the gun here.
You know I think you'll be proven wrong to jump the gun on this.
I went from all systems go to this team to like this pitching staff. I just can't get over this pitching staff.
Can't get over the pitching staff, but let's face it, pitching is going to be tough. But I think they can find enough throughout the year, spot starts, to make it manageable, and they have a very good offense as far as I'm concerned. I expect them to contend, and along with that, they run the in-season moves. They do just as well as anybody. So I won't take that away from them, and that's part of playing fantasy baseball. I still put them on a contender list.
Well, they sit in 6th place with 84 points. And at this stage of the game, they were my 4-1 post-draft, one of the favorites. They were one of the favorites, but I'm bumping them up now to 125-1. The Rizzo, the Odor injuries, and this pitching staff is a lot to overcome. That's my personal opinion.
Got it.
All right, let's talk about Big Macs. They had the 9th pick, Christian McGurk. Ron Perry. And Christian has this new thing where, we were talking about he's the puppet and all that stuff. So during the draft, I was like, Ron, tell him what he would tell Ron to tell me. Like, so now we have this new little joke. He'll send me a text. Ron, tell this guy, that he, blah, blah, blah. So he's still not really talking to me, but talking to me. So anyway, he already complained about the reverse order standings, but then he gets a great pick. He gets in Drelton Simmons, okay, and he thinks that's the savior. You know what I mean? So, I don't know what to tell him. Hi, Frankie. Sorry for the interruption. Anyway, they had the 9th pick. They did the Max Scherzer Noah Syndergaard combination, which is deadly. You add in James Paxton, you add in John Gray, and we're talking about a serious staff here. But their closer situations now.
Again, they dropped the ball. You get the Hunter Strickland,
the Kyle Barraclough, the Michael Givens.
Those are guys you don't know if they're going to have the job going in 2 weeks at a time. So it's very, it gets me very nerve-wracking. But they do have a couple of top studs, which should hold them, and let's see how they can play the game.
But why do they keep making this reliever mistake and they're anticipating someone's going to lose their job? I mean, it's like they put too much energy.
That's their style every year, and you can tell that they go into the season and they want to draft those kind of secondary guys because they're trying to get the results without working that hard. You got to get the guys that have the job. Forget about trying to worry about who doesn't have the job. You can always trade for those guys mid-year, get them on pickups. That's when it becomes a little bit of a game, and then you have to use your brains instead of brawn as we get closer to the trade deadline. But right now, when you come out of a draft, you should draft a well-rounded team. I think they dropped the ball on it. As far as their offense goes, I'm not sold on this lineup.
Is their offense, or is this team full of too many risky players? Matt Olson, Marcus Semien, Scooter Gennett, Matt Chapman. And speak about A's and Reds, Cole Calhoun, Whit Merrifield. Can Merrifield do it again? Adam Duvall, Billy Hamilton, who stinks, and Will Myers.
I mean, there's nobody here that really, really, really excites me. So who's really...
There's not much star power other than Scherzer and Syndergaard.
And I'm not about the names, so you can have your names. But there's nothing on this team that really says, wow, he has what it takes to win.
Is James Paxton overrated? I thought he was a little overrated coming into the draft.
I like Paxton. I can't complain with their pitching. I think they went out and got, they did a great job with their pitching. I'm not sold on their bats. That's where they're going to lose the season this year.
I have concerns with the fact that they really didn't address the closer situation. There's too many Cincinnati Reds and Oakland A's on this team. And I just think Billy Hamilton, his better years are behind him. I know you're going for the one category, but I don't even know if that's going to be a strength. You know what I mean? So anyway, the strengths I see.
I mean, Billy Hamilton, he's not leading off anymore so much.
I know.
I think
they have a heart for him.
He's not the Billy Hamilton of a couple of years ago, and a couple of years ago he wasn't the Billy Hamilton that he should have been. So I don't, that's an overrated pick, as far as I'm concerned. But they do get caught up, and they love these kind of guys. They love him. We try to teach him in the past that he's not the way to go, but he still gets caught up on him.
Max Scherzer, Noah Syndergaard, maybe James Paxton, and Jonathan Scoop are the only thing I see on this team. This is a team that lacks energy. It's as boring as a team can get. I question the devotion leading up to the draft with Christian and Ron. It doesn't look like they really had their heart into it. They seem disengaged, especially Christian. He couldn't get that pride out of the way. That's my opinion. But if you're talking baseball terms, okay, then the roster screams unprepared. Okay, they comment on Darryl going a pitcher, and what do? Pitcher. Okay, not a positive closer situation. Oh, we gotta change the battery. Okay, the battery died, so we're gonna continue with
Not a closing situation.
Not a positive closer. I'll edit it. If I might not edit it, we'll just cut into this. Not a positive closer situation. They were also stuck in the draft order between Ultimate Price, Bierman, and Bistro. And this affects them. They're not strong enough drafters to be surrounded by such good talent, strong talent. And they couldn't overcome it. This team has bottom 5 written all over it. One of the worst teams in the league.
I always liked them coming into the year, but after evaluating the team and my honest opinion about them, I would have to agree with you. And I don't agree with you too often, but I definitely do agree with this point. Let's see what happens.
You know, when they get excited, they pick up Andrelton Simmons. He has one game. They're like, you couldn't even work the waiver wire. So anyway, the Big Macs were 100-1 pre-draft. Okay, they were 350-1 post-draft. Okay, 350-1. They sit in 12th place at 69.5 points, and they're still one of the worst teams in the league. All right, Sal, let's go to the 8th place team, Ultimate Price and James Jost. And James Jost was one of my surprise contenders coming into the draft at 15-1. And I remember early on in the draft, you know, I loved his plan. He had a clear plan, and he started ripping off names of starters that played on the winning teams, the Astros and the Angels with Ohtani and the Yankees, okay? And his offensive picks were great, solid, with Blackmon, Upton, you know, and I didn't like Hosmer, but I can't deny him in Cano, so very solid. I didn't like how he closed the draft out, but you know, when you go 2 weeks into the season, you'll reevaluate things. You know, about 4 or 5 hitters on this team are surrounded with question marks, okay? As Drupal Cabrera, Mike Moustakas, Kevin Kiermaier, Dexter Fowler, Brandon Belt, and Shin-Soo Choo, okay? And what kind of years are you going to get? All right, sorry guys, we had to change the battery real quick. So we were in Ultimate Price, by the way.
That's right.
We talked about Cabrera, Moustakas, Kiermaier, Fowler, Belt, Choo, and the weaknesses with them. What about Adrian Beltre? Can Adrian Beltre stay healthy? This is a big player for this team.
You know, he's another guy that's getting up there in age. He's always a 300 hitter. So I think he'll do that. He's in a decent lineup right now. But where is he going to end up? Is he going to be one of the guys that gets traded, or are they going to trade the power that's around him? Because we all know that
they're in rebuild mode.
Yeah, they're in rebuild. They're not going anywhere this year. So let's see how that happens, how that pans out. So that's a big part of it.
He's usually good for a calf strain or a hammy strain.
Yep.
Throughout the year, he's usually a good 5-week to 6-week guy. And then we talk about Kevin Gausman, AJ Minter, and Samaj on reserve. Samaj on reserve is looking like a good move for him right now, so I have issues with this. But that's not a lot of concerns with the Ultimate Price. Strengths. You know, he has tons of wins on this awesome staff. When you start talking about Shohei Ohtani, Luis Severino, Masahiro Tanaka, you know, Kentai Maeda, Lance McCullers, Wade Davis, Brad Hand, you are talking about maybe the best staff in our league.
They have a great staff. I don't know if they're the best staff in our league, but you know, top 2, 3. So I can't argue with that. Ohtani has got off to the great start. So let's see if he can keep that up. A lot of times, you know, for the first time in a rotation, these guys that come in new from out of the country, they take over, but then people catch up to them kind of quick. But he doesn't look like that kind of guy. He looks like he has he's the real deal, and he has good stuff. So let's see how that happens. You gotta love the 2 closers that he has, and having two decent closers in this league is big. So that's a good sign. I really cannot complain about anybody on this team.
I think that
as far as the pitches are concerned.
He's got 7 or 8 offensive players that he could compare with anybody else's 7 offensive players.
I was never a Justin Upton fan, but that's just
he's so solid.
But he's such, he is good. He does it year after year. That's a personal reference of mine.
You know, it's his 2nd year of experience in the league, you know, and even though I don't like Moustakas and I don't like Hosmer because they had free agent years, you know, he's got Hosmer, Cano, Lindor, Beltre, and Moustakas in the infield combined with Upton and Blackmon. But here's the thing, he hasn't had injuries yet until now. I mean, Blackmon has missed the last 3 out of 4 games, and this could be an issue.
It could be, but until we're a month in, can't say nobody had injuries or you don't have injuries yet. We're 2 weeks into the season. Actually, we're not. We're 1 day away from 2 weeks into the season.
Yeah, but I mean 2 weeks.
Don't overreact with this 2 weeks and who got an injury and who didn't get an injury. The 6 months are going to pan out, and people are going to get their own set of injuries. Very rare that people don't get injured on each team. So let's see how that plays out.
I thought James came out guns a-blazing with this draft, but he didn't close that well. He doesn't have much speed. You know, his staff is going to have to carry this team. You know, it's very risky. He's got to stay healthy. He's got some red flags all over this roster. I like this team, but James looks like a team that just falls short. He needs to move a pitcher eventually. But other than Severino, what will he get for the others? You know, I mean, that's my point. Like, what can he get for Tanaka? You know, now maybe Ohtani now. Don't forget, I did this before all that's going on. You know, I felt that he's somewhere between third and fourth. He's 20-1, okay? But now, second at 105, you know what? He is my 2-1 updated odds. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think anybody could beat this team. You are 2 weeks into the season looking at the championship team, the ultimate prize.
That's fair. You know, people, you know, that's your opinion. I can't argue with his team. I do think he has a very well-rounded team. So you giving him the favorite, that's fair. I mean, there's a couple teams that I think you can give the favorite to. I won't argue because I think that they are one of them. Look, you know, Severino, as much as I love him, I think he's the most overrated ace in baseball. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of grief for saying this, but I just call it like I see it. You know, I don't like.
Why? Because he had a bad game against Boston.
No, I called it before the game that he was going to have a bad game against
No,
Boston.
but I called it
Because,
before, like,
you
what
know,
if the Yankees disappoint? What if all the Yankees that encompass this team
and
disappoint this year?
Is that unlikely? Or
No,
can that
it
happen?
could very well happen.
Well, then,
People
you know,
invested
we'll
a
see.
lot in the Yankees.
You know,
this
a
year.
lot of times you'll see these players and these pitchers that have one great year followed by a shit year. As much as I love Severino,
And I picked him 2 years ago, and I was ahead of the game. But, you know.
well, you know, he won a championship with the Bistro Smokers a couple years ago.
Well,
But
let's move on
Let's move on
to the seventh team in the draft order, the Bloody Nine.
Good luck to Ultimate Price.
Good luck,
I think you're gonna have to
James.
win.
I think. Don't worry, James.
And
Just do your thing. You're fine. Daryl's going to be handing James Yost the belt.
you know, we also don't have a good bearing of how you handle in season.
Yes, adversity.
So
Well,
we're going to find out about that, and you know, and how you manage your team. So we'll find out about that. And I think, you know, I think from the looks of it and the way you drafted, you have what it takes. But we'll find
he's
out.
quickly becoming one of the stronger owners. He reminds me of Rob Wolf a little bit, you know. And I think, you know, soon we're going to be like.
Are you going to have a new set of balls in your mouth? Is that what you're saying?
No, not like that. But anyway, let's talk about Chris Donnie and the Bloody Nine. And Chris Donnie came back, and Rich Ramirez was there. And it was great to see them both. Now, you know, don't get me wrong. You know, I have to draft my own team, follow the draft, run the draft. And you guys make fun of me and you break my balls, but you'd be surprised the responsibility it takes to run a draft and how it affects. So when I want to go looking for players, I can't go looking because I got to pay attention to who's being yelled out. And don't underestimate that. But he had an assistant. Now, I know partners have assistants, but he had an
He
assistant.
brought an assistant to the game.
You know what I mean?
And it was very nice seeing Rich. You know, I miss Rich. I haven't seen him in a couple of years, so it was actually great seeing him.
He counted the Ozuna trade right away with Keiko. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And, you know, could this be a result of this quick reaction at being out of the game? You know, but because, you know, he's engaging right away. He's writing on the board. You know what I mean? And I like this about it.
But I you know, remember playing with Chris in the past, he was always active. So I think nothing's changed as far as that goes. And he does want to make his presence known. And he's always been aggressive. And he's always been a guy that's not afraid to trade. So I kind of always give him that credit.
You know, he got hit with Aaron Hicks' deal early on, but that's about the only injury. And I wasn't high on Hicks. He played the stats game with Bumgarner, who's going to pay off. He did it with Melanson, but I don't like Melanson. I think you're not going to ever see him close. He might not even play this year. Hard to trust these closes that he took. You know, Shane Green, Hector Neris, okay? And, you know, this is going to be an issue. Then you drafted Brad Peacock and you drafted Addison Russell, who's since gone.
Well, this is my problem, and I explained this to Chris about an hour after the draft with him. I was disappointed in how he finished the draft and how he just started naming off relievers. Relievers that didn't have the job, that had, you know, that were secondary relievers, and they weren't even guys that blow you away statistically. You know, it wasn't the Andrew Millers and the David Robertsons. It was the Addison Reeds.
Yeah.
You know, it was you know.
But he could have been playing the Reed game because Minnesota's Rodney. You know,
That's
you can
fair,
understand that.
but let's face it. He played that game too much. You know, take one or two gambles. He was naming name after name, and I remember there was about 3 or 4 closers or potential closers that he took that weren't even closing at the time. So you know, that's where I felt my disappointment was in him. Now he does come out guns blazing, makes that trade with you. But again, I think it's too early to trade. But I'm not going to knock the teams that did trade already. although I think it's too early, they have their own specific style and what they think that their team is going to need.
But why have Brad Peacock and Addison Reed on your team? And you're 2 weeks into the season, you got to address it. He just addressed Addison Reed. You know what I mean? So, you can't, this is like the Ellsbury with Joe Bean. I mean, just move on. Move on, make the move. I thought, even though I traded for him as part of the Keuchel, Bellinger, Villard trade, I thought Villard would be a key to this team because, there's so much like, is he going to play all the time in the year he had 2 years ago? But when you get a guy that had such a good year 2 years ago and was such a high draft pick last year, mainly because of the steals, if he would come to bounce back, I know he's on my team now, but this is before I made the trade, he would be a key point. And it's a concern because I thought Villard was a concern coming into the draft, bottom line. He does have a solid, well-balanced offense. When you talk about Votto and LeMahieu and Jose Ramirez and Albies and Bohr and Harper's a beast. Harper might be the best player to have this year other than Trout. Puig and Garcia. You start talking a little offensive strength.
You know what I got to say is though, I'm not.
But Villard would put over the top.
The Carlos Gomez, I'm not a fan.
He's got Bellinger now too.
Aaron Hicks, are you kidding me?
No, Hicks I don't like.
He has Bellinger. Who else is on his team that I'm just not sold? Justin Bohr. I mean, horrible. Bohr was good in a good offense. He has nobody around him now. I'm not throwing Bohr a strike. Watch how many times he strikes out this year. He's going to have the biggest fall off from anybody that hit a ton of home runs last year. He's going to have the biggest fall off out of all of them. You just watch. He hit 2 home runs against the Mets yesterday. They were throwing him right down the middle. No reason to throw him good pitches. He's going to have a horrible year.
Having Bumgarner on the DL reserve helps him a lot. Not on the DL, on the reserve.
Well, that gives him power and on power when he does come back. And Bumgarner will come back, and let's see what happens with him.
I think that if Neris and Shane Green don't pan out, he's in trouble. Overall, coming into the draft, I gave Bloody Nine, 601. I called him my last place team. I moved him up post-draft 8-1. 8-1. I love this team. He sits in 11th with 70 points. I bumped him back up to an updated 150-1. I thought this team was dangerous. You know what I mean? If Chris Donnie he himself is the concern here with his lack of patience and inability to address the Peacock-Reed situation. I'm done with Melanson. The Bumgarner stats could be powerful. I don't think there's much to here other than to solidify the closer to do that. But
I love the Bellinger, Garcia, Harper. That outfield combination right there is sick. If Puig can return to form, Puig is another guy. He's a mystery.
No, but
he came in guns blazing. Has he gotten better since then?
Could Chris have done this on his own without an assistant? That's my question. Could he have walked out? I thought he did a good job with this team. Could he have walked out with this team without an assistant?
We'll see. You never know. Maybe he could have. I think he could have. I think he brought Rich there for sentimental value. I think he could have.
He made some timely picks, and I think that had a lot to do with Richie Ramirez being there. Following the draft had a lot to do with Rich Ramirez being there. Rich Ramirez deserves credit.
And that's fair. And that being said, he did try to slow down the draft because he was still all over the place and he couldn't keep up with the picks. Who picked? When was this guy picked? Who was the last pick? Oh, slow down! You're saying the names too fast. It leads me to believe that your spies in the other draft.
Oh,
right?
yeah. My spies were right.
Your spies
with Big Max and Paulie.
I gotta tell you.
Right? How right were they?
I gotta tell you.
Anyway, I think the layoff is gonna hurt Chris. But the enthusiasm, you can't argue it, and the trading, and he's commenting on the message board, and he's got to love this. I think that when you're out of the game for a while, and you got a wife and kid at home, and you work the night shift, this gives you a lot of fun. And he's got too much to do here now, and I just realized it 2 weeks in. So anyway, that's the odds for him. Let's talk about the 6th team in the draft, the Bean team. Now the Bean team came in as my odd favorite, 3-1.
Meanie Beanie.
Meanie Beanie.
Let's see how
and I was a little mean draft
day.
Right out of the gate, draft day, I get the blow with the line of the shields, and speed is such a hard category. It gets softened a little bit because I got Conforto back and Gurriel's coming back, and they'll certainly perform better than the shields in every category, but steals. You know what I mean? But steals is almost irreplaceable. In my opinion, for my team. hopefully he could get back relatively quick. I love this year. I thought he was a target of mine that was a big injury.
That's fair, but you're talking about your team. Let me talk about your team and how I thought your draft went.
Okay.
I thought you had a decent draft. I will say you weren't as prepared for the draft as you thought you could have been. Misplacing your own paperwork. I mean, and
somebody took it.
You always want to blame it on somebody. Somebody took your paperwork.
No, they did not. All of a sudden,
you left it where it was.
Do you know I left that place and went home to find it?
Rich, you were in shambles the whole draft. You were talking about hitting the bottle. Wow, you took over my spot. Clearly,
I did not.
You were hitting that bottle big time. You were happy, cheery the whole day. And you know what? Let me go back to the videotape, and the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, you have to just, come on. Are you kidding me? Does that look like a guy that was focused on draft day? I don't think so. So,
I mean, but you can't argue. Right away I get Yelich. Right away I get the Shields. Right away I get these big injuries right out of the gate. But I recognize the weakness in pitching and I try to address it.
You get the Shields hurt right away. So that couldn't hurt. Draft day, we found out about that, and that gave everybody a big cheer.
Yeah,
draft day.
That's why I love doing the woohoo, because you guys will make fun of me draft day, but I'm doing the woohoo. I'll never stop doing the woohoo. So
And then you get and I think the woohoo hurts you because the karma comes back around, and the baseball gods get you. You woohoo somebody, and then Christian Yelich gets hurt. And then, you already have Gurriel on the DL, so let's see how that works out.
I do have concerns.
I do love the young stud. I think you definitely do have concerns. Let's see about the Diaz, Keon Kela combination of closers.
Edward Diaz was a target, and Keon Kelly. You're not looking to win saves with two guys. You're just looking to stay close.
Can you explain how and why you went after Felix Hernandez so high in the draft?
You know what? I actually liked a lot of Mariners coming into the year. I mean, the pitching was going, so I figured let me just get a body. I don't think I took him that much earlier than people would have taken him. But maybe I did. Who knows? But we'll see. He's got 2 wins already. I mean, you can't argue that.
I like your trade. I think you're getting Keuchel with the upside of Villar back. That's a good.
No one's giving up other pitches for Bellinger. I'm not getting the Greinke's for him. I'm not getting the prices for him.
I think you could have.
No,
I think you definitely could have got.
I already
got a price.
asked.
I don't know.
No.
You know what?
For who? A guy who's gonna maybe have a sophomore
for
slump?
Bellinger. Who knows? He has. I'll tell you this. He has just as good of a chance to have a bounce back sophomore year as Judge does. So he's a stud, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, you don't know if he's a stud. He's got a loop in his swing. One of my concerns is Tim Beckham at shortstop. He had a lot of home runs this year. I don't know if he can repeat it, but he is in Baltimore. And Keone Kela, but Keone Kela's actually pretty good. He's not going to get a lot of saves. He might get 25 to 35, but I think he'll be good in every other stat. He's a good pitcher.
Longoria's not off to a good start. You think he's going to end up pretty well, but he's off to a bad start. In a new home, who knows if that affects him, if the new environment is going to change things and how he uses.
But they played some cold games, and they hit today.
Let's see how Paul Goldschmidt does. Now
you can't argue Goldschmidt, but don't come here and argue Goldschmidt with the 6th pick. You know what I mean?
No,
everybody's trying to get him from me right now, but that didn't happen.
We all love Goldschmidt, but let's see how it affects and how because they're changing the way they keep the balls out in Arizona.
Does that hurt Arenado in Colorado?
Well, let's see. Well, Colorado's different.
What do you think about the Miguel Cabrera pick? You like the rebound?
I did like that pick at the time. Let's see what can happen with
Buster
him.
Posey?
You got him kind of late. I love Buster
7th round.
You got Buster in the 7th round. We would have took him that round. With even having a catcher, if he got to us, we were a couple picks away from you. We said, look, he's there. If he's there, if he's not taken, we have to get him. I couldn't believe that he was there. After we did it, after us, they had another 30 picks that he wasn't taken.
He dropped that.
So shocking. He should have went in the 5th round.
Especially with Real Muto and Perez being hurt coming into the draft.
I can't believe it.
It seems like they stopped at Sanchez.
I'm so shocked that Posey was available. Yeah. So I'll give you credit with that pick. Again, credit going after Villar and getting the Keuchel for the Bellinger. That was a pretty good pick. Even though you gave up Newcomb, who had a great game since then.
But he had a game for
But he had it for you. Let's see how
his ratio and his walks. I mean, he's got to improve on it. But I might have been able to throw another player. Like I could have gave him Gonzalez or something. I didn't. I was dropping Newcomb no matter what. So, when you make a trade early in the week, sometimes you make those decisions and you got to post it. But, pitching's so scarce out there. Did I get the greatest pitcher? No. But did I give up the greatest hitter? No.
And I'm not
that's what it
sold
comes
on
down
your
to.
pitching staff as well. The Felix Hernandez, who knows if
But Garrett Richards and Aaron Sanchez?
I like Garrett Richards. I like Aaron Sanchez.
I need another pitcher. I do need another pitcher.
You need an anchor.
I need an anchor.
Keuchel is like
I need an
1A.
anchor.
You need
I
one.
agree. I need an anchor. And you know what? I'm working on it.
So what are your odds? What do you give yourself post-draft?
I think the Bean team drafted a tough team. Okay, but now we're 2 weeks into, you never know. I think that as long as the pitcher doesn't totally get destroyed.
What were your post-draft odds? Don't stop.
10-1.
10-1 again at post-draft.
I thought I was a solid contender.
All right, so let's see how consistent you are. You're in.
But I'm in 58.
You're
58
in
points.
15th place with 58 points. Where do you put yourself now?
200-1.
200-1. Okay.
200-1.
You stayed a little consistent with that, so that's fair.
Okay. But listen, what are you going to do? But we'll move on from my team. Okay.
Although I still don't think 2 weeks into the season anywhere.
But Buxton, who didn't like Buxton? Who didn't like Yelich? I mean, come on. You can't overreact with 2 weeks into the season. These guys are playing. Keuchel pitched in 30-degree weather yesterday to one of the toughest teams in baseball.
That's what we're telling you, so I agree with that. So let's see, who's next on the list? Who had the
fifth pick, 24 home run. Chris Bracone, Anthony DeRue. Now, they've been hit. First of all, they came into the draft. I told everybody at the draft, I think they're going to go on this 10-year run of not being a factor. And I gave them, 20-1 pre-draft because they are contenders that are only Hall of Famers. And they've been hit with the injury bug right out of the gate. Eugenio Suarez, Xander Bogaerts, Matt Shoemaker. Okay, now, you know what I want to see from them? My concerns are, is Zimmerman and Morrison going to repeat?
I don't think so. Zimmerman,
Michael Taylor.
Zimmerman, we all know Zimmerman's going to get hurt. Michael Taylor, I'm not sold on
Charlie
him.
Morton.
He doesn't look good at the plate either. I'm watching Michael Taylor. He's just swinging at everything. I know it's early, but I'm not a big fan of Michael Taylor. I was high on him a couple of years ago. He hasn't done anything since then to bring me back around to him. But one thing I will say is when you draft a guy like when you have a Betts. Chris Davis with a K.
I wanted Betts.
When you have Peraza, Sano, Bregman, Lowry, Solarte, these are guys.
Jose Peraza looks lost.
Yeah, he's going to turn around, and he's still very fast, and he got speed.
But they lose Suarez, and they have Peraza. Why isn't Senzel their #1 pick?
And that was shocking. Senzel should have been our pick.
He should have been drafted.
He definitely should have been. I don't know if he was drafted, but somebody's going to pick him up. I can't believe that he got all the way down to the 11th or 12th or 13th pick that he did.
Well, you don't have injuries like Ultimate Price.
He got Xander Bogaerts on the DL. He got hurt. Suarez on the DL. He got hurt.
I worry about Chris Davis with a K.
You worry about Chris Davis with a K.
Ziegler Treinen. Can you trust Brad Ziegler?
Let's look at that a lot. I don't trust Ziegler. Treinen.
And Lance Lynn.
He's good.
In the AL.
Lance Lynn, I'm not a fan of him, but they have Strasburg. They have Brad Brack, who he's getting. He'll stick in there in the meantime. You have Jose Berrios, who is a stud. He's going to be.
I wanted Berrios.
He's a stud. He's going to be.
Everybody wanted Berrios. He's got Strasburg Berrios. They have.
The Michael Walker pick kind of confused me. He was on a roll with his pitching.
But then you have Zach Godley, so it's a good,
I love the Zach Godley pick, but the Michael Walker threw me off. I don't think Walker's a guy that had to get drafted. They drafted him kind of.
But they also have Ronald Acuna, and what's he going to do?
We'll see what he's going to do. But let me tell you, I like this team. So say what you want. They were my favorites coming into the draft, and they're one of my favorites leaving the draft.
It's funny because 2 weeks ago, I would say that I didn't like this team, okay? Now, they have some strengths. They lose Bogaerts. He's hopefully not out that long, okay? But they have Bregman.
Wait.
Hold on a second.
You said he's hopefully not out that long? Is this the nice beanie coming back?
Well, for their sake. I hope the guy misses the whole fucking year.
Okay,
but they also have Alex Bregman. They have Miguel Sano. They have Mookie Betts. They have Chris Davis. They have Acuna waiting in the wings. They got the Strasburg, Berrios, Godley trio, which is very underrated, okay? They also have the hardware to prove that they could run a team, okay? Their style is consistent. This has a 24 home run name written all over this team. This resembles them, okay? Now, coming into the post-draft odds, I gave them 18-1 as a money contender, a solid team. okay? The team looks solid. Don't tell me you can't say this team doesn't look solid. And now they're sitting in third at 90.5, and they might even be better because I'm not looking at the live scanning for the last couple of hours. They're gonna have issues with Trinan and Ziegler, my personal opinion, okay? But they do have Brad Brock. I'm so glad I can say that Rich Ramirez and Chris Donnie were around, okay? But these are my arch rivals, because Ramirez and Donnie kind of like, we used to have a little bit of a rivalry. I hate to acknowledge a successful draft for this team, okay? But when you see them up at the draft board,
fair, you have to acknowledge it.
they have a tough team, man. They have a tough team, especially when Charlie Morton does it again. And Zach Galli is the real deal, and these closers hold up. And you get a guy like Mookie Betts that can carry you. And the updated odds for them are 8-1. They got to be one of the contenders. And I hate to say
I give you credit for even acknowledging that. So that's a good job by you, and I have to agree with you. They are my favorites coming out of the draft.
I mean, I don't want to make them my favorite right now, because I make Ultimate Price my favorite. And, they're right up there with second or third choice. Up to date, second or third choice. I hate looking at this team, because when I look at it, I just realize that, come on, 24 fucking home run again? I mean, I don't want to even go there. I hope the worst things happen to their teams, because I do not want another season of them challenging for a title.
Do you hope every one of their players get hemorrhoids?
I hope they all get hemorrhoids, and they all go through what Chris Pagone went through. Anyway, let's talk about the fourth draft pick, and that was Metropolitans and Richie Stark. Now, Richie Stark, coming into the draft, was a 400-1 pre-draft odds, and well-deserving. He's nothing to talk about.
He does nothing.
He does nothing. He drops Simmons for Freddie Galvis. And I understand you want Galvis, but you could keep Simmons. It's a premium position.
And Simmons had a good year last year. He's coming off a good year. He was always a decent shortstop. He's gonna play every day. So that was his in-season strategy hasn't worked as of years past. And his draft. Let's see, what did he do? He has the Arrieta. He has the Sonny
Has
Gray.
Arrieta run his course?
I'm not sold
Has
on
Arrieta,
As I drafted Arrieta last year, we couldn't wait to get rid of him, and luckily enough, we did get rid of him. I did not like him coming into this year. I like Sonny Gray. He's going to get his opportunities. I do like Jake Odorizzi. He's going to get his opportunities.
I like Odorizzi. I love the Twins.
That was a good pick at where they got him, so that was good. Verlander, who doesn't like Verlander? But I'm not sold on this team.
I think he lacks speed other than Gene Segura.
I mean, Ken Giles, Joaquin Soria.
Giles is
he's been good, but I'm not a fan of him. I think he's a guy that can lose the job before it's all said and done.
What about Richie's willingness or unwillingness to run a team? You know what I mean? Like, is there much devotion to compete for him?
No, I think it's something that he does. He plays fantasy baseball. He can talk about it during the year. We joke about it. We laugh about it. We break each other's chops. But ultimately, I don't think he's in it to win it. I think he's just there to be a part of the donations.
And what about guys like on his roster? Josh Hader, Chris Davinsky, Joaquin Soria, Eduardo Rodriguez, Julio Tejera.
He went. You'd almost think we have a category for holds.
We don't
on our team. I know we don't have that, but that's the kind of how we drafted. Because I do love Davinsky, I do love Hader, but not in our format.
And then you got to challenge the innings required.
I do understand what he's trying to do with that, but why not get good closers and then get a guy like that? So at least you have something. You have two mediocre closers. Giles, we'll see where he ends up. I'm not sold on a starting pitching. Verlander's
I love
Verlander anchor, so
I
like him. I do like the Eduardo Rodriguez pick. Let's see if he can actually be somebody that he was projected to be. And Teheran, is he on the decline? He's getting older.
He's also weak in batting average, and I just don't believe in Gallo. I mean, it reminds me of another Adam Dunn. I mean, the outfield looks pretty good in his team. I mean, I love Nomar Mazara and Benintendi coming into the draft, and everybody loved Mancini. I think I love Mazara. I wanted Mazara. I thought Mazara was going to have a breakout. 2 years already in the league. Third year is usually a breakout.
I mean, Lucas.
They needed to. Some of these guys needed. Well, but that's his utility. But some of the guys in his outfit, like Mancini and Zimmer and Mazara, they need to take the next step. And you can't argue Verlander, Arrieta, Gray, Odorizzi, Giles, but now you have to question Giles and Arrieta 2 weeks into the season.
I agree.
The team actually looks pretty solid, to be honest with you.
He's gonna have a batting average of under.
He might finish less than
220.
batting average, But there is a decent number of flexible players on his team as far as position goes, and you can't argue with a Nolan Arenado to carry you, but he doesn't steal, and I think that he's just going to be lost in no man's land on his team. I mean, what worries me is that Richie's ability to guide a team to contention or guide a team.
Can he make the proper moves?
No,
what's your opinion on that?
He can't. He's got health issues on his team. I mean, the team mimics the owner. It's a little bit on the boring side, but I think that it can surprise. If Richie can settle into a nice position, and he's already not early on, then I think the blood could get flowing, but I don't see that energy out of him. Initially, I gave him 25-1 post-draft odds because I kind of liked the team, but it may surprise into a money finish. But when I look at it now, and I reevaluate, and he sits 14th place, 59.5. He's 300-1 odds. There's nothing really exciting. I misevaluated his team post draft. 2 weeks in, I know it's only 2 weeks, but I'm gonna, whatever. So
Got it.
all right, to the third team of the draft as we move along, and we go along with this is Team Archer and John Torcher. We only got 3 more teams to talk about, Sal. Team Archer had the third pick, and he opened up right away with Trey Turner. I think everybody was targeting Trey Turner. Would you have taken Altuve or Turner if you had a second pick?
If I had a second pick, I'm taking Altuve.
Okay.
I always want the guy that has done it multiple seasons in a row. Who doesn't like Turner? But I want that level of consistency that you know exactly what you're going to get.
He also got hit with a couple injuries because he has the age on his team, the Nelson Cruz, and he drafted Musgrove, who was a red flag. I mean, but when you look at some of Torch's players, I mean, what is it? I mean, when you have a second rider on your team, I mean, he still has him. Does he pan out? Is it worth holding him? Does he have any value?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of this team. Right away Nelson Cruz gets hurt. You kind of knew that was going to happen. Candelario, I'm not sold on him. McCutcheon's going to have another good year. He's in a new home. J.D. Martinez, is he going to be that big stud that they want him to be? Off to a slow start. Matt Kemp, is he going to go to L.A. and all of a sudden have another great year? We got a lot of question marks. Todd Frazier, him and his 220 batting average. I love him. He's on the Mets. He brings energy, but they don't have a stat for energy on the totals. It's not a 6x6 where energy is one of the stats. Cesar Hernandez, he got speed, but does he bring more than that to the table? You love Abreu, with his power. I like when he got Wilson Ramos in the draft, but I'm not sold on this guy's team.
I warned him about drafting Nelson Cruz, not mainly because, other than the fact that he's old, he's got, you got to stick him in utility. You can't move him around from that position because he doesn't qualify. And then the age factor, I knew he was going to get hurt. I wanted him. And, he, like me, he let pitching go a little bit. And, he ended up with Lester, and I think Lester's done. And then you got to rely on guys like Blake Snell and Jameson Taillon.
Who I love, by the way. I love Snell. I love Taillon.
I like Taillon better than Snell.
Are they number ones coming into the year? Are they your 1A?
They're on bad teams, but the Pirates are playing better than people think.
You got a guy like Mike Leake. He'll never, he won't strike anybody out, but he'll be consistent for the year. Can he bring you over the top?
I thought Torch's mental state was in a more positive. He told me he was more prepared, and part of the draft room, everyone was so quiet. He was able to. There wasn't a lot of commotion in the draft room. Everybody focused on their sheets or whatever. So, I think that age is going to hurt this team, and Turner is the only speed on this team, and this could hurt him. But the offense minus the steals, especially if people like Austin Hayes and Ryan McMahon, who he's a drop, pan out, could be an asset. He does have 3 closes, and people have already calling him up asking about them, but he wants to hold on to them. He wants to build up the points, just like Sal, and that's a good thing. But eventually you need to turn one of them into something, if not 2. And the timing is important because if closes value sometimes come and go. Sometimes you get a lot for them, sometimes you don't, and it's about timing. And I think that he made an effort to prepare more and try to compete, and maybe this implies a smarter approach for Torch. This comes down to Torch's mental mindset. If he starts off a bad, he was in last for the first week. He's moved up, which is something I think he needed. And I think that's a point, but I think at the end of the day, the pitching is going to be a roller coaster ride for him, and I don't know if he's going to be able to overcome it. And then he's got to worry about what's he going to do if he's going to make a trade. I see injuries mounting with the age on this team, especially when you got some, even Murphy will be back, but it's a red flag situation. He lacks the speed. There's too much pressure on his offense to deliver in the other categories. This is going to be a very frustrating year for John Torchio. 175 to 1 odds post-draft. He drafted a staff that's going to be frustrating. He drafted too much age on offense. Currently, he sits in 10th with 70 and a half, and I keep his odds the same.
And he
175.
started the barrage of closers going when he drafted Kimball.
Yeah, you know, when he took Kimbrel before Jansen, and Jansen, now that might have been a good pick because maybe this is a bad year for Jansen, but we'll talk about that. All right, let's talk about team number 2 in the draft order. A team has no name. A team has no Jared. No Jared. Leo Tecchio, Jared Tecchio, the second pick in the draft. Okay, and what they did was they took Jose Altuve. And what concerns me is, was Jared being there or not being there a negative or a positive?
I don't know if we realized right away, because I tell you, we predicted what round the paperwork would start flying.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the draft, and we were in the room, and I watched the whole room again like I always do, his paperwork started flying like clockwork. 3rd round, paperwork everywhere. It was a mess. He was in shambles. I don't know if he was communicating with Jared at all. I think he
might have been on the phone.
Maybe 1 or 2 phone calls, but it didn't look like he had constant communication like the other guys had. It just like it looked like he was a mess again in the draft, in the back of the draft room, and it kind of showed in his draft. And it's, look at his pitching. I'm not sold on it. He has Jose Quintana.
Was Jose Quintana overrated coming into the draft? I thought he was.
I think that he's underrated.
I thought he was
Quintana.
overrated.
People don't give Quintana enough credit. He's gonna throw you innings. He's never gonna get hurt. He's gonna have a decent ERA. He won't have a sub-3 ERA, but he's gonna be early 3s, mid 3s, consistently year after year.
Have we seen the best of Johnny Cueto, and he's already hurt?
Cueto's hurt. I always am scared of Cueto.
Yeah.
He always has that prone to have a big year or get hurt. And
he was a late bloomer too.
If you're telling me I have a 50-50 chance with a guy having a great year or getting hurt, I'm staying away from him.
What about Tajon Walker and Tanner Roy
I love
and
Walker.
Fulton Davis and Julius Chassin? Is this enough of a support cast?
I don't know.
We're not talking about DeGrom here.
You gotta love DeGrom.
And Brandon Morrow as a closer.
So if DeGrom's your 1 and Quintana's your 1B, really 2.
Then Cueto, Walker, Roy, Fulton Davis.
Cueto getting hurt puts a big monkey wrench in his plan, because you have to love Cueto. But again, if he's hurt, he's doing you no good. So
do you believe in Justice Soul to do it again?
I do.
You do? I don't.
I was sold on him a couple years ago.
We're waiting 10 years for
He's in a good, but you know what? Sometimes when it clicks, it clicks, and if it's the mid to late 20s in a guy, that's what it is. And he seems like a guy that he found it last year, and he just looks like a guy in that offense. He's just gonna keep it. To me,
what about Cespedes? How many games did he play?
I think Cespedes, he's another guy, question mark, but I think he's going to have a big year. He's off to a good start already. Low batting average, but clutch. He's been clutch so far. I don't see him missing a lot of games.
As long as the Mets play well.
He's going to play 140 games.
They're so driven by their positive.
And we have a ton of outfielders. They don't have to play him if he does get a little nick. So he's not going to battle through him. Being that I say as a Mets, they got off to a good start. They're not going to have to force him into the lineup as they may have in the past. So they'll give him that extra day of rest when needed. He just played through the flu. They'll probably give him off tonight. I didn't see the lineup for tonight. We've been here for a couple hours, but they might give him off tonight or tomorrow. But he'll definitely get some rest as the season goes on. But I do like the Cespedes pick.
He gets lucky. They get lucky too when the second waiver wire, a guy like Middleton falls to them. And if he turns out to be the closer, what I like about this team as well is that they have Greg Holland on reserve, who's back up now, and Luis Gohara. Don't underestimate Luis Gohara. I think he's going to be a really good pitcher. Minus 2 or 3 players. I'm not a big Kevin Pillar fan. I hate Leonis Martin and Jose Perella. This offense looks solid, and Jose Altuve is the kind of player that can carry it.
So when you have Altuve and you mix it with Josh Donaldson, who a year ago was a number 1, maybe a top 10 pick, he dropped way far this year. And, we know we had the dead arm issue coming into the year. Let's see how that affects him, but he's off to a decent start. So when you have an Altuve, a Donaldson, a Seager, a Cespedes, a Kevin Pillar who has some speed and he's a well-rounded hitter, and you have a Justin Smoke that's coming into a good year. You have your Zach Cozart that could be a nice plug-in guy as far as role player goes. I think his team is well-rounded. Let's see if Hanley Ramirez can stay healthy for the whole year and how he does in that lineup. Because if he's in the lineup, he's going to be productive. Let's see if he can stay healthy in that lineup all year.
You know what? As far as this team goes, I just can't get past the inconsistent pitching staff combined with Johnny Cueto and his off performances the last couple of years. This is going to be a difficult pitching staff to manage throughout the season. And there's not a lot of commodities offensively on this team. I mean, I was already talking a slight conversation with them about trading, and they couldn't give anybody up because they don't have much flexibility here. And they're going to hesitate. Now, I expect, they got quiet last year, and I expect a little bit of the same from them. They're having a successful early season, which is a good thing, but they have to stay healthy to do that. And just to be engaged, I think last year was a bad sign. I hope they have a better year because they'll be more involved. But there's not going to be enough movement for them, and I don't see them making enough moves here. So at the end of the day, I gave them 250 to 1 odds. I gave them a bottom 5 rating before 2 or 3 days after the season. I hope that this isn't a season that is a waste, because there might be signs. I mean, I'm not going to say there's signs that they'll never come back, but Jared didn't come back, and they were very quiet last year. So you always worry about a team's mental state. And if they have 2 really bad years in a row and remain quiet, I worry about that, especially if it gets ugly. 250 to 1 post-draft. They're sitting 4th at 93. I only bumped them up a little bit, 150 to 1. I still don't like this. They're just off to a good start. All right, let's talk about the last team, the number 1 team, draft order, who choked and came in second. Tony's Tigers, Anthony Palumbo. And Sal, right away, you got to pick Mike Trout. We gave Tony 250 to 1 pre-draft odds. He was upset about it.
You know what? It's his job to show us that he's upset about it. It's his job to prove us wrong. And those pre-draft odds I thought were well deserved, because he hasn't done much to show us that in the past. One thing I will say, coming out of this draft, I think he was out to prove us wrong.
Yep.
And I really like his team.
I think he has an excellent team. And he was one of the guys that, remember that folder he had? Remember we went and visited him and he had that fucking big folder?
He had a folder with this many paperworks, and he was going to do all the teams. And I think that the last advice we gave him the night before the draft,
we saw him the night before, hours before the draft.
And I think
11
he
o'clock.
actually listened to us. And if we didn't give him that advice,
it might have helped him.
I think it definitely did help him, because let me tell you, I'm very excited with this team. I mean,
he was upset about the 251.
It was a no-brainer taking Trout one, as far as I'm concerned. And then
but he only has Kenley Jansen. He doesn't have everybody else, and he had a rough first week. And Kenley Jansen, you invest a lot into it.
That's my one issue with his draft was, how do you get a guy like Kenley Jansen and not back him up with any other closer? I mean, that's a horrible job on your part, Tony. As far as that goes, though, aside from that, that was one of the small flaws that I seen in your team. But when you have a Trout, Jose Martinez, you get a guy like Carlos Santana.
He was helped by
Gordon, Encarnacion, Contreras. Who doesn't love Contreras? I mean, this team is stacked offensively. I think he's going to do well all year.
Archie Bradley not closing, hurt a little bit. He dropped him.
Yeah, but we all knew Archie Bradley didn't have the job coming into it. I mean, the season started and we knew he didn't have the job. You're supposed to do your homework.
Can you trust Junis and Kennedy? And what about last year's choke job? How is he mentally now? Like, is it a negative or has it made him stronger?
I don't know if it made him stronger, but what I will tell you is, we all know that it bothered him more because it was Darryl that he choked to. But he came out of the draft, and my initial observation is that he's coming and gunning for the chip.
Yeah.
You know, who knows if he's going to get it? He doesn't seem like the guy that can make the proper moves during the year, so his in-season management is going to have to be better.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can give you some more advice, and I don't want to speak for you, but if I can give you some more advice, Tony, step up your in-season management, be on the game, get off your iPad.
He's got to get a laptop.
iPad, get a laptop, use a computer, and get your things done. We don't want to hear the excuses about your airdrops, and you thought you had this guy, and the pick made it this guy, and just stay focused and guided. This is the team that you can work with. Manage your in-season, and you can do well.
This is what I think about the strengths of this team. It's so well balanced offensively. He's got a ton of speed too. And speed is the category of all categories that boggles people's mind. He's also got Justin Turner waiting in the wings on DL. Don't underestimate, even though I think he's a little overrated, don't underestimate what a guy like Turner could provide, batting average wise, and in the middle of that lineup, okay? And he has other depth in reserve, like Reddick. He had Reddick on the bench one day, one week. He's also got a deep, solid, 5-starter staff. I mean, Carrasco, Rich Hill, Patrick Corbin, Milos Mikolos, who ain't turning out that well yet, Tyler Chatwood, and Jansen. Okay, so you can't argue with this team. There's not a lot of negative things to say about Tony's team.
There's not.
Really,
I love Corbin. I really like his team a lot.
I love this team. The only questionable areas is if you don't like your starters named Carlos Carrasco or Hill, if you don't like those guys, not name them. You want to say that Carrasco and Hill have been nicked up or Hill's age is an issue. Okay, you could say that. You always got to worry about Hill at his age, and he's got groin issues, and Carrasco every once in a while. Is Jansen due for a bad year? You could worry about that as well. And like we pointed out, he lacks waiver wire skills. And last year, the way he ran his team, Tony was motivated. We probably created a monster. We motivated him by talking bad about him in the pre-draft, and we went and we visited him 6 hours before the draft. And who knows what he learned from that? I love this team. It's one of my favorites. He's 5-1 post-draft, and he sits in first at 108.5, and this is a good thing. So he's 5-1 second choice, updated odds. Ultimate price is 2-1 updated odds, and 24 home run is 8-1 updated odds, and that's how we complete the post-draft video. And Sal, anything you want to say? It was a long video, but I mean,
I think it was a long, fun video. Sorry to get it out so late. I had to go on the DL about a week ago.
Yes.
So they've been working with us, and thank you for being patient with me as far as that's concerned.
Sure.
And again, it is an off kind of year, so we started the season after the season started, so it's only right that this video came out a little bit late, but we hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yep.
I do think it's going to be a very fun year.
Yep. Very tough year.
As I stated to you early on in the week, this year is wide open.
Wide open.
So
even though I think there's a couple of teams already established.
If you think you got what it takes, go out, prove it. This is to all the teams, all the team owners in the league. You're playing in the best league available with a bunch of the best guys available. Go out and try to win the chip.
Yeah, and if Tony's Tigers does what he does again, you got to start respecting him. Especially if he maintains this lead and just competes. And if someone like an Ultimate Price overcomes the pressure, and has this, stature, you gotta respect them. And the other guys in the league that, talk all this shit, including me, you gotta start, reevaluating. But I think it's a tough year. We're only slow down, pump the brakes. It's still 30 degrees some places, okay? The season usually starts around now, okay? So let's remember that, okay? Let's remember some of this coldness and all that. And, don't get all excited. And Paulie, Pacella for Posey, come on. Anyway, thank you so much. Good luck. Tough draft, tough year. Thank you, Sal. And I hope everybody enjoys the video. I know it's a little long, but there's so much to talk about in the post-draft. And good luck this year. Remember the posted messages. You got to follow the board. Goodbye. God. All right.